Hi, it's Kathy. I'm back. This is my channel where I talk about sewing stuff and mostly garment sewing. Today we are going to talk about this make. It is the Frida blouse. And then after that, I am going to have a little bit of an unboxing embedded in actually the Frida blouse because I'm going to take you along with me. I have a little bit of footage of while I was sewing. You were there, you didn't know it. And then after that, I'm going to talk about some money matters when it comes to sewing. So let's jump right in. The Frida blouse is made by Atelier Jupe, and it is the second time I've made this in addition to muslin. And I followed Andrea's suggestion from Beyond the Pink Door in that I made 2 layers at the front yoke, whereas the pattern just has you make 1 layer at the front yoke. The back yoke on my muslin, I originally did a rounded back kind of adjustment and I didn't need it, so I took that out. But it's funny, about 3 patterns in a row, I got a little bit burned on fold lines. I thought the universal sign was always the 2 arrows with the fold in between them. But now that I've used some patterns from other countries recently, I've had to really look for that fold symbol. I didn't make a mistake, but I just wanted to warn you about that it's not the universal, in my opinion, the universal sign for placing a pattern piece on the fold. I block fused the mandarin collar and the front placket. And since the mandarin collar, like all collars, are a little fiddly, I went ahead and made a full piece so as not to lose any of the size shaping by placing it on the fold. And I used the tricot interfacing from Palmer Pletch. I get the lightweight, and it worked out good. My granddaughter said that the sleeves needed to be shortened, but she's 7, and the amount of fashion sense she has can probably be fit in a thimble. And the fabric, okay, so the fabric is viscose, and I talked about it on my last video. I got it from a custom printer, and I picked out the artist myself. Her name is Margaret Jean, and the printer is named Hawthorne Fabrics. And I bought 3 yards at 55-inch wide. You have choices on your width, so you don't have to do with the 55, but I was uncertain at the time of what I was gonna do with it. I just know I wanted to try it. And I might show you my colors, but this is all my colors. So I was just kind of like, I had to give it a try. So therefore, this garment came up probably as one of my more expensive fabrics or makes I've ever had. And I've got about 30 inches left over, I would say. So if you include the fact that I've got, so in other words, the total cost of the fabric was around $60, including the shipping. And the buttons were about $6, so that's $66. And then I'm gonna call the pattern free because I'd already used it. And I had all the thread on hand. And I'm not gonna include the interfacing either. So I'm gonna call this a $66 top, but quite honestly, it's one of the prettiest things I've ever made. So, I mean, I don't feel that bad about it. Now, on some people, you're gonna see that it seems like it separates a little bit more here. And I think part of the reason it doesn't for me is that I'm just a little narrow right there. I'm figuring that out lately, that I need to start making adjustments right there. So I think it just comes in more because of that. When you do the buttons, I bought these at a local store, but you wanted to start your first buttonhole right there and then do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that's when you're marking them. When you actually do the holes, I mean, if you want to start at the bottom, go up like I usually do, just in case you would have a little bit of a misfire, then your focal point's not on your worst buttonhole right here. But when marking them, start here and then equally go down the front. And I stopped my last one about 1 inch above my belly button. So that worked out good. As far as sizing goes, I hate going through all that sizing. That drives me nuts, so I'm not gonna do that. But I will tell you that on the pattern, it's from a EU 34 to an EU 52. and a UK 6 to a UK 24. So I guess that's not the biggest size range. As far as I used, everything's in centimeters. So 2.54 centimeters equals an inch if you're imperial like I am. It's all in metric. And so I started at a size 42 is what I should have been, but I went ahead and did a 44, and I'm happy with that. And then I don't have to worry about gaping or, you know, what bra I wear or anything. And then I did have to grade up a little because my hips go out. And I added a little bit of length. I'm 175 centimeters and it was drafted for 168. And so that is 7 centimeters, which means about an inch and 2.54. Oh, I guess 3 inches different. Yeah, 3 inches different. Okay, so there's another thing, and that is that the seam allowances vary a lot. Now, so my favorite thing is when a designer puts the seam allowances right on the pattern. Okay, I just wanted to sit down. Obviously, I'll insert some more pictures. I did end up wearing this on Mother's Day to church, and you know, I liked it. So this pattern has varying seam allowances. And so I highly recommend that you cut this out and put it in front of you while you're sewing it. And it, avoids all confusions and mistakes. And I like that the seam allowances varied because they all made sense why they did. But sometimes the seam allowance is 1.5 centimeters, which is 5/8. So that's pretty big, and you don't want to do that in the wrong spot. So that's the story about the seam allowances. So overall, I love this make. Yeah, happy with it. We'll go with the ton in my wardrobe. And like I said, I'll do some pictures of me in it. So before I break away to some clips I have of me making this, and like I said, embedded in it is an unboxing. So I'll explain that in the video that you're going to watch. I thought I would show you, I'm not going to give you a room tour, but as someone who loves watching sewing vlogs, sometimes I wonder where that person is. And if you're nosy like me, I thought I would at least give you a little bit of an overview. So my sewing studio is in the lower level of my house. It's in the finished part. And that way is the stairs getting down here. And then I'm on the other end. So this is how it works. So these are the stairs. And then the first thing in the basement is my little home office. And then we have a big Lego area. And then over here is you. You're right there on my cutting table. And then behind me are the shelves where I keep my fabric and my patterns. And then on the other side of you that you cannot see are my sewing machines. And then here I have an egress window, and here I have one also. And then right here's my ironing station. So just so you have a frame of reference, I thought you might like that. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to break away to some footage, and then later we'll also talk about money. Hi. Okay, so I just got back from the sew-and back we have here in town. And it's not very convenient to me, but I had ordered something. And what it is an acrylic table and insert. So I thought I would show it to you as I unbox it. Okay, so I have to remove all the stuff, and then I'm assuming all I have to do is put these legs on. So it has these legs. It looks like they're a tension fit, and then you adjust the height by that. Okay. And then I also wanted to show you, they had this basswood fabric, 100% viscose, and it's almost 60 inches wide. I got one in 5/8 because that's what the new itch to stitch pattern called Fremont, I believe. No, Lamont. Lamont. It came out today and I ordered it right away because I don't want to always order things right away, but that one I knew I needed. So I went ahead and got some fabric to be made up with it. And all those colors are in my color card. So I've got clothes that will go with it. Ooh, we've got something different going on this one. Oh, I bet you that goes with the suction cup. The fifth leg, I bet goes like this. TBD. Okay, so this is what I have so far. And now I'm gonna take you over to my sewing machine and we'll see how it fits on. Okay, so it's so shiny. It feels a little funny. And I guess I'll have to determine what height I want it. I might need to raise it now that I'm playing around with it a little. But yeah, there it is. Yeah, my vision will have to get used to it a little bit. It's kind of a little bit like fourth dimensional, like it's a dimension I've never had. Oh well, it'll be a fun toy. So I am going to finish making the blouse. It's made out of this fabric, and then do some yard work, and I will get back with you some other time. Okay, I thought I would just finish this collar with you, let you know how this is going. Maybe I should put that other foot here. It's going down a little. It's good. It's a little sticky, like a little tacky. So I don't know whether that's something that will like just get more like slick with time or if it's deliberate for a reason. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that this is probably not the best place to have this table either. It's a curvy place. It's not really the right thing. But let's see here. What are you seeing? What I want to show you is I put that cardboard seam guide there. So the reason I did that was obviously for seam guide, but I had this bolt thing from a different machine, but it was a universal fit, so it fit in, and then I just cut that piece of cardboard as a seam guide. So there's an idea for you. I've got my collar on top and the bodice on the bottom, and looks like I need to account for a little bit more fabric on the bodice versus the shirt, so I'm kind of feeding it in a little bit with my awl. So it's the bottom piece. Going slow here, because this is, to me, this is an important step. Got my stitch length at 2.0. And I had already started the collar at this end, so I get to end a little early because I wanted to make sure that it, you know, came out kind of perfect, if you will. And yeah, I'll have to grade and clip my edges, but the inside will be something like that. Oh no, that's the outside. No, that's the inside. That's the facing. Okay, see you later. Okay, let's start part 2 of my video. So I said I would touch on the budget, and well, I didn't say that exactly. I said I would like to talk about the cost of sewing or something to do with money. And quite honestly, I believe in budgeting. So my husband and I have been doing this for a few years, and we just find a lot of freedom in it. And so I'd just like to give you some of my, I guess, suggestions, okay? So how do you feel about budgeting? Do you feel like it's a constrictive thing that you only get to spend a certain amount and then it's over and it kind of makes you bummed out? Or do you look at it from the other perspective where it's like, I get this amount of money, how can I best utilize it? How can I best stretch it? How can I best enjoy it? And I would say that I endeavor to do the second of the two, obviously. Okay, so then let's talk about the most confusing part of budgeting for sewing. And that is that we're making a garment. Okay, so we've got this artistic hobby side, and then we also have the fact that we're actually creating clothing, which is one of the pillars of a budget, is you have to have a clothing budget because it's a necessity. So how do you handle that overlap? Well, that's a good question. So what I've been doing for a while now, and I got to tell you something, I don't have any of this totally figured out. It's kind of more of like a dialogue that we're doing here. But what I've been doing is having a hobby budget, which lately is a little on the small side, and then have a clothing budget. And so when I buy fabric, it comes out of the clothing budget. That's for sure. And when I buy notions such as pins and maybe markers, name some notions, I don't know, but they come out of the hobby budget, okay? And of course, some things are consumable, but where the huge gray area is, in my opinion, is patterns, first of all, and we'll discuss that. But then other things like this, like buttons, interfacing, thread. I mean, if I was to buy all new thread for a garment and used all my machines, which I do sometimes, I could have to buy 7 spools of thread. I mean, obviously I don't do that, but you know, that's a possibility if it's a new color. And then of course zippers. So all of those things go into the garment. They're definitely a cost of sewing, but it makes the cost kind of jump up. So like, what do you do about that, you know? So I guess where I'm landing lately is that I don't have a zipper stash. I just don't do that really. I mean, I have like 5 zippers in my stash. So if I had to buy a zipper for an outfit, I would include that in the cost. Thread is a notion in my sewing studio, and this winter I kind of invested about $50 into thread with my hobby budget. Interfacing, I buy it infrequently because I order it from someone. And it's kind of expensive when I get it. It's like almost $50. But I basically just use this type for almost anything. And then if I don't use this, I use the SP 101 that I buy at Joann, and I'll just buy it, you know, with a coupon and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of negligible. But this nice tricot stuff, Palmer and Pletch, that's where I get it. I believe I spent, with the shipping and everything, I spent about $50. And again, I did that last winter, so I'm good for a while. But nevertheless, it did cost money, and I had to use that. And I think that particular month, I used the clothing budget because I think I had more in that budget. And just for a frame of reference, the clothing budget, it includes all clothes for me and my husband, just the two of us, we're empty nesters, and accessories and shoes. And I have really bad feet, so my shoes are about $140 every time I get some. So that's like a month, right? So, you know, we're not talking that I am spending a ton of money. So where does the cushion come from? Well, sometimes we will just allocate some extra money. Like right now we're allocating extra money for home repairs. Like it's just off the budget. We decided to dip into, we're actually cash flowing it, but that's not the point of this thing. But sometimes you do go off budget a little bit, but we have bi-monthly meetings. So if we do go off budget, it's a joint decision. Okay, so $200 a month for clothing. And like I said, that's where my fabric comes out of. And then what I've been doing lately is the first time I buy a pattern, I include it in the cost of the garment, but then after that it's free. Yay. So that encourages me, of course, not to buy so many patterns and, you know, to reuse patterns for a few reasons. It's just more efficient to reuse patterns, that's for certain. And then the hobby budget is for the things, like I said, the pins and all that. And I budget about $45 a month for that, and I use it all. I mean, I just do. I can't tell you how, but I do. And then if I need to buy more than that, which sometimes I do, I will go into my allowance budget. So that's how I do that. So now we do some envelope budgeting. And so how I follow this through in a practical way is that this is my hobby money, because most often I'm going to do that at Joann, like a little nickel-ing, diming stuff. I've got a Joann convenient to me, and I can just go use cash, and it's easy. The other part of the budget is all online, and it's in its own account. And so it's easily for me to see. Now, if for some reason I would, how does this go? If I would buy something online, but it should have been a cash purchase, like let's say that month I bought all that thread. Let's say that I really wanted that to come out of my hobby budget. Let's say I wanted to do that. Then I will take the cash from the hobby budget, because I did spend it, it's just that I had to spend it online. And I'll put it in a special envelope. And then at the end of the month, I will go deposit that money that's in the envelope. And this is for all kinds of things that pertain to our budget that we buy online that we normally allocate cash for. So this envelope kind of saves that whole situation, because unfortunately the way we live these days is you have to buy stuff online. And then, like, I just wanted to show you that I physically have a hobby budget. Well, this is my allowance. So, you know, I get my allowance as cash, my hobby's cash, and the clothing's all online. And then I have to track it, right? So, I mean, I wish I was better at that part, but I'm not awful. I'm not. It's essentially almost like whatever I take out of the account is kind of what I've used for clothing. Is kind of how it really works out. And I do have a special checking account just for clothing, so that helps to keep it clear. And then I also have this, and this is where I put receipts. It's kind of like a backup system. And like I said, so many of my purchases, big, small, mostly small, are Joann. And that's just the reality of my life. I love sewing, and so I spend a lot of my money at Joann. Okay, what are some other points? Okay, so to really muddy the waters, let's talk about room upgrades. So I think essentially, if I buy anything that's over like $20, $30, I consider it a house improvement. And a case and example of that is I just bought some great lights for my studio, and they came to $180. So, you know, that just came out of the household improvement budget. So that's where that came from. Just looking at my notes here to see if I missed anything. I think that's all I was going to say about budgeting. So I hope that came across clear. You know, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm a pretty big open book. So, all right, I'm going to go on to the next section of the video. Okay, and then one last thought considering the budgeting. I am going to start analyzing the cost of each object a little more thoroughly. And if I use a fabric that was in my stash for over a year, I'm going to consider that free. So then the last thing I wanted to say is goodbye. Today we did talk about my Frida blouse. I hope you enjoyed that. I had a little bit of an unboxing, and then we talked about the budget. So next time you come back, I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about an upcycling project I've got going on. So I hope to see you then. Take care.